The single most common piece of advice given to Americans dealing with poor leg circulation after 60 might actually be the thing holding your recovery back. Walk more. Your doctor said it, the internet says it, your neighbor swears by it, and your sister in law sent you 3 articles about it. And look, walking is genuinely good for you, and I want to be crystal clear about that from the very start. Keep walking, don't stop. But here's the thing nobody has ever taken the time to explain. There is one specific muscle that does the actual heavy lifting of pushing blood back out of your lower legs and driving it back up toward your heart. And ordinary walking barely switches it on. Millions of Americans over 60 are doing everything right. They walk every single day. They sleep with a pillow under their feet. They bought the compression socks from CVS. And they still sit down at the end of the day with cold feet, ankles swollen like bread dough by dinner time, a deep burning ache in the calves, and that dizzy, unsteady rush when they stand up from the couch too fast. They are putting in the work. The problem is not budging, and nobody has told them why. The reason has very little to do with how many steps you logged today. It comes down to one muscle, and once you understand how to switch that muscle on, the fix is far simpler than you would ever guess. Before we go any further, do me a quick favor. Subscribe right here to the Dr. Weston channel and tap that like button. It takes 5 seconds and it genuinely makes a difference. We are walking toward 10,000 subscribers on this channel, and this whole thing exists for one reason: to tell you what the system does not have the time or the financial incentive to explain. Your primary care doctor is managing 2,000 patients and squeezing you into a 7-minute appointment. Your specialist is booked out for 3 months. The insurance company is not paying for the education you need to actually get better. That is why I am here. I am Dr. Weston, and for 15 years I have sat with patients who were doing everything their doctors told them and still could not figure out why they kept falling behind. Today, I am going to show you what those appointments missed. Here is what no one had ever explained to those patients. Poor leg circulation after 60 is not just a nuisance you learn to live with. When blood stops moving properly through your lower legs, small cuts and scrapes heal slowly. They turn into infections. And in serious cases, I am telling you this not to scare you, but because you deserve the truth. People end up losing a toe or worse. It is also one of the earliest warning signs that your heart and your arteries are under real strain. By age 70, close to 1 in 5 adults has what doctors call peripheral artery disease, a narrowing of the arteries feeding the legs. And the vast majority of those people have no idea it is happening yet. So this is worth understanding properly. Before you click away, assuming you already know everything, walk more, put your feet up, drink your water, give me 2 more minutes. Because the reason your feet are still cold at 10 o'clock at night has very little to do with your step count. It comes down to a single muscle that most people never think about even once in their lives: your calf. Doctors call it the calf muscle pump, and a lot of us call it your second heart. And that is not just a catchy phrase. It is a precise description of what it actually does. Every single time your calf muscle tightens, it squeezes down on the deep veins buried in your lower leg and physically forces blood upward against gravity back toward your chest. Inside those veins sit tiny one-way valves. Think of them like the check valves inside a garden hose pump that snap shut behind every push to make sure the blood cannot fall back down. That is the pump. That is your second heart firing every time you take a step. Now here's what happens to that pump after 60. The vein walls get stretchier and weaker. Those little valves start to leak. And the calf muscle itself, especially if you spend a good part of your day sitting at a desk, in the car, or in your recliner in front of the television, shrinks and loses its squeezing power. The pump slows down. When it slows, blood stalls around your ankles instead of climbing. The swelling gets worse, the feet get colder, the skin down there starts running low on oxygen, and the less you move, the weaker the pump gets, which makes you move even less. It becomes a slow downward spiral, and a lot of people are somewhere on that spiral right now without realizing it. Here is the genuinely good news. Fixing this does not depend on your daily step count. It depends on a handful of very specific movements that physically push blood back up where it belongs. I am going to walk you through 5 of them in order, counting down from 5 to 1. Each one does something the one before it cannot, and I am saving the single most powerful movement for last, the one that vascular rehab programs all across this country lean on more than almost anything else to restore circulation after 60. If you take only one thing from this entire video, it is going to be number 1. But you will understand it far better if we build up to it together. Before the countdown, let me tell you about someone. I will call her Lorraine. She is a composite of several real patients I have cared for over the years. No one's privacy is on the line here. Lorraine was 71 years old, retired school librarian from outside Atlanta, still driving herself everywhere, still hosting her grandkids every Sunday for fried chicken and potato salad, sharp as a tack. But her feet were ice cold every single night, even in the middle of a Georgia summer, and by the time dinner was on the table, her ankles had gone soft and puffy. She had been faithfully walking a mile every day for years, exactly as her doctor told her to, and she was quietly heartbroken that it was not helping. Keep Lorraine in the back of your mind, because what finally changed things for her is the entire point of this video. Number 5, ankle pumps. This one looks so simple that most people dismiss it immediately. I have watched patients wave their hand at it like it is too easy to bother with. Here is what those patients did not know. This is often the very first movement given to patients after leg surgery, before they are even allowed to stand up. Doctors use it because it keeps blood from pooling while the body heals. It works because when you flex your foot up and then point it down, your calf contracts and relaxes, and that motion squeezes the veins and moves the blood that has been sitting stagnant around your ankles. A 2025 review in the Journal of Orthopedic Surgery and Research gathered 16 separate randomized trials and found that simple ankle pumping improved blood flow back up the leg and reduced lower leg swelling in older adults. No standing required, no walking required at all. Here is how to do it correctly. Sit in a sturdy chair with your feet flat on the floor. Slowly lift your toes up toward your shins, keeping your heels planted on the ground. Then reverse. Press your toes down into the floor and lift your heels up, the same way you ease your foot from the brake onto the gas pedal. Slow and deliberate. That is 1 repetition. Aim for 20 to 30 repetitions, 2 or 3 times a day. You can do this while you watch television, while you sit at the kitchen table waiting for your morning coffee to finish brewing, or while you ride as a passenger in the car. Think about how much of your day you spend sitting. At meals, at your desk, in the car. Every hour of sitting, your calf muscle pump is switched off and blood is settling in your feet. Ankle pumps switch it back on without you even getting up. Walking runs on momentum. You fall forward and catch yourself, over and over, and honestly, your calves barely get a genuine squeeze out of it. Ankle pumps make the muscle truly contract and push. That means warmer feet, less swelling, and less pressure on those fragile vein walls. This is also one of the safest places to start if pain, poor balance, or fatigue makes extended time on your feet difficult. But ankle pumps only wake the system up. The next movement goes higher. Number 4, the seated leg lift. If you think sitting down makes this one a walk in the park, your thighs are going to tell you something very different about 10 seconds in. When you straighten your leg out in front of you and hold it there, you activate the large muscles across the front of your thigh and the muscles at the front of your hip, the exact muscles you rely on to push yourself up from a chair, climb a flight of stairs, and catch yourself when you start to lose your footing. When those muscles contract, they press on the large veins running through your thigh and drive blood out of the upper leg. Regular walking barely challenges those muscles enough to slow the muscle loss that comes naturally with age. Pay attention here, because this is the part most people miss entirely. Geriatric doctors track something called gait speed, how fast you walk. They call it the 6th vital sign, right alongside your pulse and your blood pressure, because how quickly you move turns out to predict your risk of falling, your level of independence, and how long you are likely to live. When walking speed slows down, it is often one of the earliest quiet signs that the body is losing strength in those big upper leg muscles. Strengthening them is how you push back against that slide. Here is how to do it. Sit up tall in a sturdy chair with your back pressed firmly against the backrest and both feet flat on the floor. Slowly lift one leg straight out in front of you, keeping your knee as straight as is comfortable. Hold it there for 2 seconds. Then lower it back down slowly. Do not just drop your foot to the floor. That is one repetition. Do 10 to 15 repetitions on one leg, then switch to the other. The detail nearly everyone misses is the back. Keep it firmly against the chair throughout. No rocking forward, no using momentum to swing the leg up. That forces the right muscles to do the actual work, and that is where the circulation benefit comes from. As this becomes easier, add a light ankle weight or a resistance band looped around your foot. Even 1 or 2 pounds makes a real difference. Muscles respond to gentle, steady resistance at any age. This builds the strength that keeps you walking, and it moves blood through the upper leg in a way that ankle pumps alone can never accomplish. But strong thighs will not protect you if your balance system starts to slip. And that brings us to number 3. Number 3, the supported calf raise. This is the movement that does two things at once. It builds circulation and it builds balance simultaneously. And balance, listen to me on this, is one of the single most important factors that determines whether you stay independent or start needing help with the things you have always done for yourself. Getting up from the couch, climbing a flight of stairs, walking across a parking lot on a cold winter morning. The National Institute on Aging is clear on this point. Keeping your lower body muscles strong is one of the most effective steps you can take to preserve your mobility as you get older. And your calves are at the center of all of it. Every time they contract, they squeeze those deep veins and force blood upward against gravity. Weak calves allow blood to pool, swelling to increase, and your balance reactions to get slower and slower. What would have been an ordinary stumble becomes a serious fall. Right here, how old are you? I am not being rhetorical. Drop your age in the comments right now. I want to know who is watching this, because I am about to tell you exactly which age group is at the highest risk for what we are talking about today. To do a supported calf raise, stand behind a sturdy chair or at your kitchen counter and rest your hands lightly on the surface, just for balance, not for grip. Feet about hip width apart. Slowly rise up onto the balls of your feet, lifting your heels as high as is comfortable. At the top, pause for 2 to 3 seconds. Keep your eyes looking straight ahead, not down at your feet. Then lower yourself slowly, taking a full 3 seconds to come back to the floor. That slow tempo and that brief pause at the top, that is where the real work happens. It forces your calf muscles and your balance system to work together, which is exactly what your body must do in the split second when you start to stumble. Start with 10 repetitions. Gradually build toward 20 or 25 as you get stronger over the coming weeks. This one movement can improve your ankle stability, your circulation, and your balance reaction speed all at the same time without putting excessive stress on your knees or your hips. For many of the patients I have worked with over the years, this was the first exercise that made them feel genuinely steady on their feet again. But standing on 2 feet is the easier version. Number 2 takes one of them away. Number 2, the single leg stance hold. Before you dismiss this as a balance exercise with nothing to do with circulation, I want to share a number that changes the way you look at it. In 2022, researchers publishing in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed more than 1,700 adults over several years. They found that people who could not stand on one leg for just 10 seconds had an 84% higher risk of dying during the years that followed compared with people who could manage it. 84%. And here is the part that surprises me every time I bring it up. Among adults in their early 70s, fewer than half could pass that 10-second test. Fewer than half. A 10-second balance test told those researchers more about a person's future health than almost anything else they measured. You can try it right now, carefully, with a counter or a sturdy chair right beside you. Stand up tall, keep one hand close to something solid you can grab if needed. Lift one foot just 1 or 2 inches off the floor and see if you can stay steady for 10 seconds without holding on. That is the test, and it is also the exercise. Here is why this directly improves blood flow. The instant you stand on one leg, your calf, your ankle, your hip, and your core all have to contract and keep contracting to keep you upright. That sustained muscle contraction keeps your calf muscle pump engaged the entire time, pushing blood upward instead of letting it settle back into your foot. Ordinary walking never asks your muscles to do that. You are only on one foot for a split second before stepping onto the other. Standing on one leg forces the pump to stay switched on. This is also where circulation and fall prevention overlap completely. When balance declines, people naturally begin moving less. Less movement means slower blood flow. Slower blood flow means more swelling. More swelling means more pain, less confidence, and less activity. The downward spiral we talked about earlier gathers speed. To practice this exercise, stand next to a counter or a wall with one hand resting lightly on it. Shift your weight onto one leg and lift the other foot just an inch off the floor. You do not need to go any higher than that. Stand tall, eyes forward. Do not curl your toes to grip the floor. That is a cheat that the nervous system uses to fake stability. Hold for 20 to 30 seconds, breathing normally the whole time. Then switch legs. That is one complete set. Start with 2 sets on each side. As it becomes easier, gradually rely less on your hand for support until you can eventually hover it just above the counter without actually touching it. That longer, steadier contraction keeps blood moving efficiently and retrains your nervous system to respond faster when you stumble. But balance alone, while it is crucial, does not fully restore healthy circulation. For that, you need the most powerful version of the calf muscle pump. And that brings us to number one. Number one, the standing calf pump hold. This is the movement I promised you at the beginning of this video, and once you understand what it is doing inside your leg, you will see immediately why vascular rehab programs all across this country lean on it almost the same way they lean on a prescription. It looks similar to the calf raise from number 3, with one small difference that changes everything: the hold. You rise up onto the balls of your feet and you stay there. Your calf muscles act like powerful pressure pumps, and holding at the top keeps that pump fully squeezed long enough to clear the blood that has been pooling in your ankles and push it back toward your heart. Ankle pumps wake the system up. The single leg stance hold trains your balance and control, but this movement moves the greatest volume of blood and keeps it moving. The evidence behind it is real. In a randomized clinical trial published in the Journal of Vascular Surgery, people with poor leg circulation who completed an exercise program centered on calf raises were able to walk significantly farther before pain set in. Their pain-free walking distance improved by dozens of yards, and their total walking distance increased by nearly 110 yards, roughly the length of a football field from one end zone to the other, without a single medication and without any specialized equipment. That is, the calf muscle pump doing exactly what it was designed to do. Here is how to perform it safely. Stand behind a sturdy chair or at your kitchen counter with your hands resting lightly on the surface for balance. Feet about hip width apart. Slowly rise onto the balls of your feet, lifting your heels as high as is comfortable. Now hold that position for 3 to 5 seconds at the very top. Keep breathing normally. Eyes straight ahead, not down. Then lower yourself slowly, taking about 3 seconds to return to the floor. That is 1 repetition. Start with 8 to 10 repetitions. Build toward 15 or 20 over time. Always move with control, never rush. The hold is the entire point of the exercise. That sustained contraction keeps the calf pump fully engaged, pushes blood upward, reduces swelling, and strengthens the muscles your body depends on when you catch yourself mid-stumble. Because there is no jumping or impact, this exercise is appropriate for most people dealing with arthritis or reduced balance, as long as one hand stays on the counter for support. Now let me tell you what happened with Lorraine, because this is where it all came together for her. I stopped asking her to obsess over her step count. Instead, I asked her to do these 5 movements in sequence, about 12 minutes a day, that is all. She started each morning with ankle pumps while sitting in her kitchen chair. Then she did seated leg lifts. While her coffee was brewing, she did supported calf raises right at the counter. After that came the single leg stance holds. and she finished every session with the standing calf pump holds. I want to be completely honest with you about her results, the way I always am. Her circulation did not suddenly become that of a 30-year-old overnight, and I would never promise you something like that. But within a few weeks, her ankles were no longer puffing up dramatically by dinner time. Her feet felt warmer at night. And the thing she told me mattered most, more than anything else, was this. She no longer felt like she was about to lose her balance every time she stood up from the couch. She felt steady again. For a woman who had been quietly living with the fear of falling, a fear she had never even mentioned to her kids, that changed everything. Before I let you go, I owe you one important warning. I would much rather you stay safe than brush past something serious. If you ever develop sudden, severe pain in one leg, or if one leg suddenly turns pale, cool, or numb, or if you have a sore on your foot or ankle that simply will not heal, do not stay home trying to work through it with exercises. Those symptoms need prompt medical attention. They can point to a severely blocked artery, and that is a genuine medical emergency. Go to urgent care or the emergency room. Everything I have shown you today is designed for the chronic, everyday kind of poor circulation, not for sudden arterial emergencies. Please take that seriously. So there you have them, 5 movements that activate your second heart and drive blood back up where it belongs. First, ankle pumps, to wake up the calf muscle pump while you are still sitting. Second, seated leg lifts, to move blood through the upper leg and build the strength that keeps you walking. Third, supported calf raises, to improve both circulation and balance at the same time. Fourth, the single leg stance hold, for sustained muscle contraction and stronger, faster balance reactions. Fifth, the standing calf pump hold, the most powerful of all 5, the one I would choose without hesitation if I could only give you a single exercise. And keep walking. I mean that. Walking is an excellent habit, and I never want you to stop. But walking alone leaves an important gap, and these 5 movements are what fill it. They take less than 15 minutes a day. They cost absolutely nothing. Every one of them can be done right at home, at the kitchen counter, in your favorite chair, in front of the television. The insurance companies, the pharmaceutical industry, the clinics that book you 3 months out for a 7-minute appointment, none of them profit from you getting better with a 12-minute home routine. But you do. And that is the whole point. How old are you, and what state are you watching from? Drop it in the comments right now. I want to see where all of you are tuning in from California to Florida, from Texas to New York, from the Midwest out to the coast. Subscribe to the Dr. Weston channel right here and hit that like button. We are walking toward 10,000 subscribers, and every single one of you matters. I am Dr. Weston. Take good care of those legs. They have carried you this far, and with just a few dedicated minutes each day, they will keep carrying you for a long time to come.